Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Guillaume Chaverot, and I'm a postdoc at IPAG in France, in Grenoble. In this presentation, I will talk about habitability in a sense that the capacity of a planet to sustain liquid water if there is. So I will not go into a very detailed explanation of biosignatures and stuff like this, but I will try to keep things simple to try to know, try to discuss what we know and what we don't know about habitability of exoplanets. It's a little bit different for exoplanets and for the solar system, because for exoplanets, we still search for a planet hosting liquid water. And we have strong evidences within the solar system on the fact that they had liquid water on Mars, for example, or we could have liquid water under an ice shield on icy moons, for example. Okay. So, first of all, just hide this. Yeah, whatever. Okay, first of all, I will try to describe as simple as possible what are the requirements for life as we know it. So if there are biologists or astrobiologists in the room, they may cry saying this, but if we try to give a very simple definition of those requirements, we need first some material to do chemistry. And for life, as we know it, it's the famous CNOPS, because life is based on the chemistry of carbon. We need also some energy to allow chemical reactions. And we need also solvents to maximize interactions between those atoms to form molecules. So for atoms, as I said, life is based on carbon because carbon has four bonds. So a lot of possibilities of for making molecules, and those bonds are strong enough to have stable complex molecule, but they're not too strong and allow chemical reaction and molecular recombination. So you can build quite a complex chemistry thanks to this flexibility of carbon. Talking about energy, the main provider of energy on the Earth is the sun, of course. So we're gonna we're gonna search for life at the surface of the planet, but there are also possibilities of energy sources deep in the ocean, for example, with hydrothermal vents. And this option point toward icy moons, for which the sun is not able to go deep in the ocean, but you can have some energy coming from the internal heating of the moon. And if we talk about specifically about exoplanets, we forgot about those atoms because it's still super difficult to characterize the atmosphere of the planet. So to know what is the composition, the atmospheric composition of the planet. So we just keep this condition of solvents, so liquid water, and some energy. So we're going to search for liquid water at the surface of a planet, basically. We don't search deep in the interior of the planet itself, because most of the information we get from exoplanets are coming from the atmosphere. So we need an interaction between this potential life at the surface of a planet and the atmosphere to be able to detect it. So this question of habitability is actually, the definition is quite narrow because we search only for liquid water at the surface of an exoplanet. So these conditions are not the only conditions we have for life as we know it. There are also restrictions in terms of pressure and temperature, especially as you can see on this figure showing the boundaries, I would say, of life on Earth. So using these boundaries for life, we can kind of restrict the phase diagram of water to have the double condition, liquid water, plus these pressure temperature conditions. So basically, we have this narrow rectangle of the phase diagram. And even with this very simple thought experiment, we can say a few things about potential targets for this question of habitability. We have first pressure temperature conditions corresponding to the Earth, of course, because here we are. But life can also sustain at higher pressure. So we can go a little bit higher in this phase diagram, for which we still have liquid water. And then we point toward maybe a more massive planet like super Earth, why not sub-Neptunes, and also, of course, icy moons such as Ganymede. So even with this very simple thought experiments, we can say some interesting things on this question of habitability, and we can restrict a little bit what planet we would like to characterize. Before going into the exoplanets, a few words about icy moons and the solar system itself. As I said, the Jovian moons especially are really interesting for this question of habitability and liquid water. Because, for example, on Ganymede, we are pretty sure that there are different ocean layers deep under the ice. Same for Europa. There are Enceladus, Callisto, as well as interesting targets. So the question of astrobiology, as I said at the very beginning, in the solar system is the question is not exactly the same than for exoplanets, because we know, we are pretty sure here they are liquid water, so we can go in a more complex question of biosignatures and stuff like that, and how to be sure that that what we detect is a biosignature and not an abiotic molecule from somewhere. But for now, for exoplanets, we still search for liquid water. So this question of biosignature is even more complex in this context. So for exoplanets, searching for liquid water puts restrictions in terms of distance between the planet and the host star. If the planet is too close from the star, if there is water at the surface, the water will boil due to high temperature. If the planet is too far, then the water freezes, and naturally there is a range of distance in between, for which if there is water at the surface of the planet, water could be liquid. This is basically the definition of what we call the habitable zone. And I will try to discuss this question of the habitable zone in the next slides to try to overview a little bit what we know and what we don't know on this quests of liquid water, and what are the next challenges to characterize a temperate planet. So I will start I will first define the two processes that delimits the habitable zone at the inner edge and at the outer edge. So for the inner edge, basically, if you consider a planet like the Earth with a water ocean, If you reduce the distance between the planet and the host star, the temperature of the planet will increase. And at some point, due to a positive feedback named the runaway greenhouse, the ocean will entirely evaporate in the atmosphere. And due to this, you have a huge gap in terms of temperature as a function of insolation. And we use this gap as a definition of the inner edge of the habitable zone. So this is really due to the fact that water is a very efficient greenhouse gas. And basically, when the planet is too hot, the water vapor acts as a shield and prevents any cooling of the planet. And that's why the ocean evaporates entirely. And yeah, thanks to this jump in terms of temperature, this unstable state of the runaway greenhouse, we use this unstable state as a definition of the inner edge, as I say. For the outer edge, the process is quite similar. If you still consider the Earth, you put the Earth further out from the sun, the temperature decrease, and at some point, you have again a jump in terms of temperature, but this time due to the albedo feedback, and especially the difference of albedo between the ice and the open ocean. So basically, the ocean has very low albedo, so absorb a lot of energy, while the ice have very high albedo, so reflect most of the energy. So when the ice caps are large enough, you reach a tipping point for which there is a runaway glaciation and the planet freeze entirely. So again, you have this unstable state that is a runaway glaciation, and that defines the outer edge of the habitable zone. And for the Earth, this runaway glaciation is supposed to happen when the ice caps reach 30 degrees latitude north. So we know now how to define these two boundaries of the habitable zone. So we can compute this habitable zone for different stellar types. Oops, sorry. And this is what you see here. So in terms of stellar temperature as a function of relative insolation. So in green is the habitable zone, in red is the too hot zone, and in blue the too cold zone. And fortunately, there's is in, which is a good point, because here we are. So physics seems correct so far. But for this definition, we assume basically the Earth. So the size of the Earth, the mass of the Earth, and the atmospheric composition of the Earth. The only point is that to compute the outer edge of the habitable zone, the definition is based on the carbon cycle. And the carbon feedback, meaning that if you cool down the planet, then the carbon cycle will inject naturally more CO2 in the atmosphere, preventing the freezing of the planet. And basically, the outer edge is the point for which even CO2, even large quantities of CO2 are not able to maintain the planet temperate. If you neglect this carbon cycle, the outer edge is like super close to the Earth. So it's fortunate for us, for habitability, that this carbon cycle exists. Okay, so still the same calculation, but we can, with the same models, we can change the atmospheric composition of the planet. And we can, for example, add a bench of H2 in the atmosphere. And if you do this, basically you push the inner and outer edges outward in the solar system. So you shift a little bit this habitable zone. You can also change the CH4 to CO2 ratio. And here the calculation has been done for the outer edge only. And as you can see, this modifies the impact of the stellar type on this definition of the habitable zone. So the what I showed just before has been calculated using a simple 1D climate model, but we can also use more complex model such as GCM, general climate model, to calculate this habitable zone. And if we do this calculation for the Earth, we obtain this inner edge. So as you can see, there is a tiny difference between the estimation in using a 1D model and a 3D model. And this is due to the fact that 1D models neglect the global dynamics of the atmosphere. So tends to underestimate the outgoing, the thermal emission of the planet, sorry. Okay. And still using a 3D model, we can also change the atmospheric composition. And for example, with these green lines, we can increase or decrease the nitrogen pressure. So here in green, we assume only nitrogen and water in the atmosphere. And as you can see, if we increase the nitrogen pressure, we extend this inner edge inward, so closer to the sun. An interesting comparison here is between this green line and this red cross, because the only difference between the two simulation is the few ppm of CO2 we have currently in the atmosphere. So this difference seems quite small, but as you can see, the Earth is not that far from the inner edge. So I'll let you conclude on this question regarding what we do currently with CO2 content in the atmosphere. We can still continue to change the atmosphere, and we can, for example, consider an atmosphere made of H2 and water only. And if you do that, and if we increase the H2 pressure, we push outward the inner edge of the habitable zone. So this point is really interesting if we think about super Earth, for example, because we know that those heavy planets are more likely to keep H2 in their atmosphere thanks to higher gravity value. So for the previous slide I showed, the calculation has been done using a 3D model, but assuming the rotation of the Earth. And we can also slow down the rotation and consider a tidally locked planet. This is particularly relevant for M dwarf, for example, for which the habitable zone is super close to the star, and consequently planets are more likely tidally locked around those stars. So if we do this, as you can see, the inner edge of the habitable zone is really closer to the hot star. This has been explained by the cloud pattern, as you can see here. And if you consider a planet, a tidally locked planet with an ocean at the surface, the clouds will form preferentially at the day side, and you have absolutely no clouds on the night side. And basically, these cloud patterns is super efficient to cool down the planet, because you have a high albedo on the day side thanks to this cloud deck, and a very efficient thermal cooling on the night side, because the atmosphere is cloud free. So this pattern explains why the inner edge of tidally locked planets, assuming an ocean at the surface, is super close to the hot star. We can now consider that because for now we consider that we consider the temperate planet with an ocean at the surface, and we're trying to find the limits, the inner edge and the outer edge. So we move from the center of the habitable zone toward uh, um, the inner and the outer edges. But we can also assume that planets form hot with all the water evaporated in the atmosphere, and try to find the point for which water is able to condense at the surface of the planet. If we do this experiment, we find this orange inner edge that is actually, and for this, the Earth is not in the habitable zone. So this was explained by the cloud pattern as well. So here is the pattern for a tidally locked planet if you consider an ocean at the surface. And here is the cloud pattern if you consider that the planet is initially hot with all the vapor in the atmosphere. And basically, all the clouds form on the night side. So you have a cloud-free day side and really cloudy night side. And consequently, the albedo on the day side is super low, so you absorb super efficiently the flux coming from the star. And on the night side, this thick cloud deck prevents thermal cooling. So this cloud pattern is super efficient to prevent any cooling of the planet. So it's super difficult. You need a very low insulation to be able to condense the water in a surface ocean. If we look at the same process, but in terms of temperature of the planet versus insolation, we see that this cloud pattern allow a third stable state for the Earth. So basically, you have here the two known stable states of the Earth, temperate planet like today, and the snowball state. And we have an hysteresis loop on these two climate states because of the difference between the high albedo of the ice and the low albedo of the open ocean I mentioned at the very beginning. And the cloud pattern I showed just before with a cloud-free day side and cloudy night side allow a third stable state for the Earth here in red. And again, you need basically a huge change in terms of insolation to switch from a hot planet to a temperate planet. And it's pretty the same for, so the top panel is for the Earth and the lower panel is for Venus, and we still have this hysteresis loop for Venus. But the key difference here is that today we have three stable states for the Earth and two stable states for Venus, so hot and temperate. But at the beginning of the main sequence of the sun, when planets finished to form, the insolation was lower and corresponded to a very cold planet in the case of the Earth. But if we assume that Venus was initially hot with all the water in the atmosphere, we are still locked on this hot branch. So basically, this hysteresis question point that Venus never had the chance to condense an ocean at the surface, while the Earth was colder and had the chance to condense an ocean and to finish on this temperate branch. So basically here, with the study, we have a new history for Venus, different that the initial history explaining that Venus could add an ocean in the past, but leave the runaway greenhouse process and lost all the water by photodissociation. So for the difference between the Earth and Venus, cloud matters, I would say. So if we think about this this multi-stability question in this diagram I showed before, we have a gray zone here between the inner edge, assuming an ocean at the surface of the planet, and the inner edge, assuming that the water is initially vaporized in the atmosphere. We have this gray zone of bistability, meaning that if you find a planet in this gray zone, you're not able to say, okay, the planet has an ocean or the planet is not habitable. You need to know the history of the system, and you need to know if the planet formed in this bistability zone, like Venus, or if the planet formed outside this bistability zone, like the Earth, condensed the ocean, and then finished in this bistability zone. So basically, what I would say with this diagram is that defining the habitability of a planet just as a function of the insolation is not enough. It's a it's a more complex question, and we cannot resume only we cannot resume the habitability only as a function of the insolation arriving on the planet. So yeah. And if I try to resume a little bit what we know on this question, you have here the different limits I showed before for different atmospheric composition. And we can basically define a kind of conservative and optimistic habitable zone. Meaning that for now, we don't know what is the classical composition of the atmosphere of a terrestrial planet. So the conservative habitable zone assume that a planet could host liquid water, whatever the atmospheric composition, rotation, and stuff. The optimistic habitable zone is for the right condition in terms of rotation and atmospheric composition. And we have also this tidally locked question, which is relevant for M dwarf, but less relevant for G-type stars because the habitable zone is further away, so the planets are not supposed to be tidally locked around Solar-type stars. Okay. I will go a little bit further in this question of the impact of the atmospheric composition on the inner edge of the habitable zone with an ongoing work I do with my colleagues here in Grenoble. So you see here the distance between the inner edge and the habitable zone as a function of the atmospheric pressure. And here the composition assume water and nitrogen only. The dashed line is the estimation made by Koparapu and collaborators in the famous paper he wrote more than 10 years ago, actually. And the blue dots are the estimation we made with my colleagues. And as you can see, there is kind of a huge difference even for 1 bar for the pressure of the Earth. And we interpret this difference as the difference in the relative transfer. And we suspect that they neglected some subtle spectroscopic processes that are actually really important. And that's why we have this huge difference. And the triangles are another study by Ramses Ramirez, assuming some parameterization for the clouds. So our estimation is basically in the range of their estimation, assuming some clouds. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So we did also the same calculation for the atmosphere of the Earth, so water, nitrogen, and a bit of CO2. So again, the calculation of Koparapu is here with this green star, and our calculation is with this green line. And still we have these differences due to some spectroscopic processes they neglected. But we are in the same range of distances. And in this calculation, we can also increase the quantity of CO2 in the atmosphere, basically, up to 75% of CO2. And if we look at the atmospheric pressure of the Earth, an interesting point is that if we increase the quantity of CO2 in the atmosphere, we basically extend the inner edge of the habitable zone closer to the hot star. So this was quite weird at the beginning, but this actually makes sense because um, basically, if you increase the quantity of CO2 in the atmosphere, you increase the temperature, and basically you evaporate more water, and you find an equilibrium for which you have liquid water, but at very high pressure and very high temperature. So basically, you move in the phase diagram of the water quite far from room condition and terrestrial conditions. So basically, this red line, for this red line, we still have a liquid ocean at the surface of a planet, but with 10, 20 bars of water vapor in the atmosphere. So we have liquid water, but we are not in a condition that suits for life as we know it on Earth. So this point, the fact that we need to be careful when searching for liquid water, because we can find liquid water, but in conditions that are not good, absolutely not good for life as we know it. So yeah, the definition of habitable and habitability should be used carefully. Another interesting point on this figure is this green curve. So for the current CO2 content in the atmosphere, if you increase the pressure of non-condensable gas, meaning nitrogen plus CO2, um, the 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 inner edge of the habitable zone moves outward, further out in the solar system. But at some point, you increase again the size of the habitable zone. So this non-linear effect is due to a kind of competition between the greenhouse effect of CO2 and the Rayleigh scattering of CO2. So understanding, linking habitability with CO2 content, for example, is not a linear process, and it's not a simple process neither. Okay. If we look now at the exoplanets we detected, you can see here a sample of planets we detected as a function of their radius and insolation. So in red, M dwarf, yellow, orange, K stars, and yellow G stars. And here is the Earth. And if I overplot here the optimistic and realistic habitable zones I showed just before, we have something like this. So we have a few interesting targets around M dwarfs, but for now, nothing around G stars, solar top stars. Just because it's easier to detect and to characterize planets around M dwarfs. So if we look a little bit more in detail in the different methods and the limits, for now, the two main methods to detect and characterize planets are the radial velocity techniques and the transit spectroscopy. So for radial velocities, we're for now limited uh, at precision of the order of the meter per second. And to detect the Earth around the sun, for example, we need precision around the centimeter per second. So instruments are improving, but there is still a gap for being able to detect temperate planets around solar stars. For transit spectroscopy, we are limited because the atmosphere of the Earth is very thin, so very difficult to detect and to characterize. And also, we are limited by the activity and the noise coming from the star. James Webb is actually doing super great stuff, especially for the TRAPPIST-1 system, by providing some dayside emission data for those planets. So it's a first step into the characterization of these temperate worlds. And on a longer time scale, we're going to have ANDES and maybe PCS at the ELT to try to do reflected and emitted lights for these kind of targets. And in space, the projects HWO and LIFE to try to go even further and to detect biosignatures in the atmosphere of exoplanets. I would like to highlight also Plato, which is a mission dedicated to the detection of exoplanets around solar type stars, and especially planets within the habitable zone. This will be really interesting for us because we don't have enough planets within the habitable zone for now, and we don't have any planets around solar type stars. And basically, the kind of work we will do with the lot of detections Plato is going to do is calculating occurrence rates of planets within the habitable zone. So this will be an interesting step before going further and trying to characterize those planets. You have here an example of a work done by a colleague here, trying to estimate the occurrence rates of planets within the habitable zone around M dwarfs. And basically, we would like to do this work for G-type stars. Yeah, here is the box she used based on the definition of Koparapu for the habitable zone. And basically, if I put the optimistic boundaries I showed before, the box is shaped like this. So this will affect for sure the estimation of the occurrence rate of those planets. And here is in green the conservative habitable zone. Still Plateau, if everything goes well, Plateau could be able to detect the radius gap induced by the runaway greenhouse, so by the evaporation of the ocean at the inner edge of the planet. So this is really interesting because this could be the first direct detection of a boundary of the habitable zone, and this could be also the first detection of the honorary greenhouse process. That is for now theoretical process. So yeah, looking forward for this. I will go a little bit further in time, talking about this paper studying HWO. So as I said, HWO, one of the aim of HWO is to detect biosignatures, and is in this work they studied the interest of polarized light to characterize temperate exoplanets hosting a liquid ocean. So basically, they studied different processes like ocean glints, Rayleigh scattering, rainbows, and stuff to show that if you look at polarized light, you can have a very strong pattern corresponding to these different stuff, and especially ocean glints. So if we are able to detect polarized light from planets, we can have a kind of direct detection of an ocean thanks to ocean glints. So the main issue is that if you select only the part of the light that is polarized, you reduce drastically the number of photons you get. So all of the debate is to know if we can get enough polarized photon to basically do something. But anyway, this question is really interesting, and there are a lot of people working on this, especially for long-term project and missions. Yeah. So, and yeah, still the same paper basically studied a synthetic sample of potential planets around existing stars. And yeah, by reading, when I read the paper, I understood that the underlying assumption is that the supposed planets at 1 AU, which makes sense because the Earth is habitable. We can say that, but even if this condition is okay for a Solar star, because here we are, this is not a conservative assumption, because if we go for a K type, sorry, or a M type, the 1 AU is I mean, one terrestrial insolation is outside of this habitable zone. So theirs is the only habitable example, but it's not, from my point of view, a conservative example. And it could be a better hypothesis to guess, for example, 60% of the current Earth insolation to search for liquid water at the surface of the planet. So I will conclude on this, saying that even searching for liquid water, that is actually a very simple definition of habitability and life as we know it, even this question is actually really complex. And linking habitability directly with distance to the host star or an insolation is too simple regarding the knowledge we have on this question. So we need to care about other points, such as the atmospheric composition, rotation of the planet, clouds, and stuff like this. Thank you for your attention.
The speaker of a really comprehensive talk. It's a subject that I'm following for a long time, and I've rarely heard such a comprehensive talk. And
Thank you.
actually, my question is relating the definition of habitability, because as you correctly commented, that high pressure, high temperature water, although by the definition of the habitable zone is okay, it will not be habitable according to the biological terms. And actually in 2018, I published a paper in the UpJ that defined a habitable, biological habitable zone. And could you comment on this in the modern evolutions about and possibilities of observation? So how could we consider extension of the habitable zone, though that would be habitable in the biological life?
Okay. So from my point of view, before going into very complex question, as you mentioned, of biology, there are a few steps to check, and basically the step level 0, I would say, is finding liquid water, because we know that liquid water is a sine qua non condition for life on Earth, and it's basically the easier point we can address for exoplanets. And once we find a planet with liquid water, then we can try to search for more complex questions, and we can, for example, restrain to a range of pressure, temperature, as I mentioned at the beginning. And then if all these conditions are fine, we can go a little bit further and searching for molecules that could be biosignatures or stuff like that. But regarding the complexity of the chemistry on Earth, if we, from my point of view, maybe it's quite naive, but if we search and if we try to define biosignatures without restraining the space parameter, it's just too broad, and there are so many different chemistry even on Earth, and we don't know about the chemistry on other exoplanets in different conditions around M dwarf and stuff like this. So
you misunderstood my question. I was
okay,
much
sorry.
simpler, just in the temperature limits that suit biological life, namely not going to temperature above 100 and a few degrees, and and just limiting to this region. I didn't mean to look for complex biosignature, etc.
Okay, sorry. So I'm not a biologist, so I don't have so many knowledge about this, but for me, the kind of conservative condition we can take is coming from this paper, and it's basically temperature minus 50. Sorry, it's in degrees. I don't know if you use degrees or Fahrenheit. It's minus 50 and plus 150. And in terms of pressure, it's actually quite broad. So I don't think pressure will be limited in this question. It's more a question of temperature.
Yeah. So this, I noticed this. Thank you. But we'll talk later, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So we have another question in the chat from Bill, and he asks, would you describe the Plato mission?
Yeah, sure. Read it. Plato. Here it is. So basically, Plato is planned for launch next year, next December 26th. And the aim is to detect a lot of exoplanets. So no characterization directly, but only detection, and especially around solar type stars, with the aim of discovering a lot of planets, like they guess 400 planets in the habitable zone, if I remember correctly. And the interesting point is that they plan a synergy between Plato in space and on-ground follow-up with different instruments doing radial velocities. So basically, Plato will detect exoplanets using the transit method, so you can get the radius of the planet, and if you are able to have some follow-up from the ground, using the radial velocity method, you can derive the mass of the planet. And if you have the radius of the mass, you can infer the density, and you can start doing a very cool science, basically.
Okay, thank you so much again for your comprehensive answers. I don't think we have any more questions. If anybody would like to ask a last question, you can pop your hand up now or put it in the chat. But otherwise, we will finish it up there. So thank you so much, Guillaume.
Thank you.
It was really, really interesting. Everybody seems to really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.